Welcome back to our channel, Living on the Ohio River. Hi, I'm Carrie Henshaw from Key Associates Signature Realty, and I love to do these videos at least once a week. If you're new to our channel, make sure you tap that subscribe button. Wouldn't want you to miss our videos that we do all the time. As you know, I am a local realtor in Indiana, Kentucky. And as much as I love to do these videos, we do sell real estate. So reach out, we got your back, call, text, email, whatever it takes, we will help you. When looking to find a place to live, there's all kinds of things to consider. And today we are gonna consider looking between two states, two that I'm very familiar with, and that's Indiana and Kentucky. You know, obviously we're neighbors, we are divided by the Ohio River, and thought this would be a great video, especially because we help so many people that are looking on both sides. Do I pick Indiana? Do I pick Kentucky? What are the benefits? What are the pros and cons of both of these states? So stay tuned, we're gonna get into the nitty gritty. So do you wanna live in the bluegrass state or do you wanna be a Hoosier? That is the names we use here in the Indiana, Kentucky area of the Midwest. These are both great states. They both are rolling hills. Well, I should say southern Indiana's rolling hills. Northern Indiana is very flat. So if we're looking at landscape, that is very much what Indiana is, depending on where you pick. Kentucky as a whole is very much like southern Indiana, very much rolling hills, beautiful landscape, so very much the same feel of wherever you're maybe wanting to live. Lots of rural areas, so lots of country feel among both states. So we're gonna get into a few things to highlight that you may consider if you're making the move or looking at these two states. One of the first things we're gonna consider is taxes between Kentucky and Indiana. We're gonna look at a little bit of all different kinds of taxes, property taxes, sales taxes, and that kind of thing. So one of the first things to consider in Kentucky, the income tax is 5%. And in Indiana, it is 3.23%. However, Kentucky's sales tax is 6%, while Indiana is 7%. So the sales tax rate on vehicles in Kentucky is 6% as well, at Indiana 7%. So things to consider depending on your income and your spending habits. Both states have pluses and minuses or pros and cons of the way you are taxed. So depending on your income or what you're spending money on, those are two things to consider when moving to both of these states. Education. Do you have small kids? Do you have graduating kids? Do you have people in college? Maybe you have no kids, so this may not matter at all to you. So when it comes to education, the Kentucky and Indiana both have their strengths and their weaknesses. So if you're looking at Kentucky, their high school graduation rate is higher. However, Indiana is home to several highly ranked colleges and universities such as Notre Dame and Purdue. So if you're looking to invest in one of your own education or your children, or considering both, there's pluses and minuses of both of these states in regards to education. I did look up the ranking. Kentucky is 19th out of all the states and Indiana is 28th, and that's mainly out of high school rankings. But again, Indiana's done a fabulous job with their education in colleges. There's a lot of programs, especially for your undergrads when they're going to college. I know some counties that actually have a lot of grants or scholarships set up to go to these schools. So if you're looking at in-state tuition as a possibility and want to get into like a Purdue versus out of state, there's a big difference there. So some things to consider with education. Again, pros and cons to both states, depending on what you're needing. Okay, healthcare. Everybody cares about healthcare and what are the costs between these two states. And I'm actually just gonna give you statistics, but you know, I've heard, just because I do have an employee that is living in Kentucky and moved from Indiana, so I have a little bit of real talk, I can talk there as well. But in general, both areas have been really working on expanding their healthcare access within the recent years. Both states have relatively good coverage for Medicare and Social Security programs. So if you're really specific health needs, I would really dig into what you're looking at. But I did, just to give you some real information of just between, like I said, my employee, I felt like when they went to Indiana to Kentucky, their premiums actually did get higher. I don't know that for 100% fact, So dig into that for more research, but something to think about and look at when you are looking to relocate to this area between Indiana and Kentucky with their healthcare systems. Job and economic opportunities. Actually, both states have really low unemployment. So this is really coming down to, there's lots of jobs in both locations, both states, but what kind of job are you looking for? Because they do definitely have different focuses of jobs. If you look at both Kentucky and Indiana, they have a diverse range of industries. Kentucky is really known for automobile manufacturing, bourbon, of course, right? And horse racing. Everybody knows about horse racing in Kentucky, in the Kentucky Derby. Now, Indiana, on the other hand, is a very big manufacturing state, as well as agriculture. So depending on what your focus is or type of job you're looking for, these are the areas of what jobs will be found in these two states. So dig into those different areas, maybe of whatever your interest is. Definitely low unemployment and both great places to move if you're looking for job relocation. Parks and recreation and outdoor activities. Actually, both states rank very high, in my opinion, in these locations because they're beautiful states. They both have tons of parks, fishing, hunting, boating. If you've been to all the Kentucky lakes, I mean, they're absolutely gorgeous and huge, but great places to visit. A lot of state parks in both locations. Indiana has the Hoosier National Forest and obviously lots of different parks throughout the state. So if you're a big outdoors person, it's definitely a place that you can find activities in both locations if you want to enjoy, like I said, fishing, hunting, boating, and all that stuff, golfing. One thing to consider is Kentucky is obviously known for its Bourbon Trail, while Indiana is known more for limestone cave systems, dunes, and beaches, especially in the northern part. These are kind of the things that you're going to find in both of those locations. So obviously Bourbon, Kentucky, and then you got our limestone, which I don't know if you noticed that if you actually go to DC, and I learned this when I went on my child's DC trip, a lot of the limestone for all their buildings came from Indiana. Cost of living, that's what everybody wants to know, right? In general, Indiana, Kentucky, if you look at all 50 states, has a pretty low cost of living. That's why we've seen a migration of people coming from those higher cost of living areas to the Midwest, because it's just affordability is so much better. I think they rank, I mean, they're roughly in that, 80th percentile of the 100 if you look, plus or minus a few percent. I do know when you look at the statistics, Indiana is 3.7% higher cost of living than Kentucky. So they're both very close, but Indiana does have a little bit of a higher cost. So we are real estate agents, and I'm gonna bring up at least from a cost of living homes. And Indiana is actually lower than Kentucky in this area of the world. If you look at the median home price in Kentucky last year, it was roughly $233,000, where Indiana was $212,000. So a lot of different options. You have cities, you have rural, you have country, you have land, a lot of different things, because we are talking about total full of all states, not just cities. So lots of variety, but that is the average if you look at the two states. But very affordable states if we compare to the US. Slightly different, Indiana a little higher, but both good affordability in both locations. Traffic and public transportation, depending on where you're coming from. I mean, Indiana and Kentucky are really lower population and very rural. I would say the traffic congestion is definitely lower in Kentucky, but they do all have great road systems. The infrastructure is very good with its highway system. There's not a lot of other areas like train or car, you're basically cars in these two states. So if you get into the cities, there's going to be different things to offer. But in general, the infrastructure is good with the highway systems, and less traffic in Kentucky than Indiana, depending on where you're at, just because of the population itself. I know this was a high-level overview of Indiana and Kentucky. Again, I think they're great states. Midwest is great. If you're looking to move to the Midwest, these are two states to definitely consider. In the end, the decision where to call home will depend on your individual needs and your preferences, but by comparing the factors like taxes, education, healthcare, the opportunities for jobs, parks, you know, your outdoor activities, the traffic, just all the different things that are important to you. You really just need to weigh out between two states, what's more important and what benefits you better. If you're moving from a higher cost of living like a California, I'm definitely positive that either state will be a great selection for you if it comes to money and affordability. But then you gotta nail down and figure out what state offers the best solution for you and your family on what is in the state. So again, I hope this video was beneficial for you. Indiana versus Kentucky, Hoosier, you know, we got corn or we got Kentucky bourbon, you know, the bluegrass state. You pick, it's your decision. We welcome you to both states. If you need any help with real estate, you give me a call. I will help you. I got your back in either state. I am licensed and we have 60 agents on the group that can help you that may, you know, be a little bit more defined in each area, but we do have your back. So give us a call, 812-686-3268. And until next time, I'll see you then.